Let's film. Don't you dare. Don't you dare. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you're new. My name is Ashton if you don't know me. So today we are going to do this book rec tag that I saw on somebody's YouTube channel. I will put their YouTube channel right here. I thought that would be like a fun, new, different type of video for us to do where I can just sit down and answer some questions and talk to you guys, blab a little bit. We're currently in my living room. Welcome to my couch. My friend got me this really beautiful cup from Target. Shout out Natalie. Before we start the video, I just wanted to say make sure to like, comment, and subscribe down below. The first question is, what is my favorite book? I feel like this is a difficult question for everybody and they never give you like a straight answer. There was a book that came into my mind immediately when this question was asked, so I'm gonna answer with that. My favorite book is The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I'm sure it's one of those three books. I'm not sure which book, but it's definitely one of those three. I just have some like connection with that writing style and those characters, and just I've talked about this book a lot. It's like this girl, you know, she's just kind of your basic average girl living her daily life, when all of a sudden, oh my gosh, she's receiving this inheritance from this super rich billionaire man who just died. The only condition is that she has to move into this mansion with the family that was just disinherited. It's a bunch of mystery and clues, but there's just something about the mansion setting and the characters. I just found them to be really unique. Another thing about The Inheritance Games is I feel like you can read it spring, summer, fall, winter, and it's always good. You could read her in the summer and be like, oh my gosh, I'm so smart, I'm so quirky, I'm figuring out these clues, I'm getting down to the bottom of it, I'm gonna get an inheritance, all these hot guys love me. Next question is a book that is my guilty pleasure. Not that ashamed. Ooh, actually I take that back. My biggest guilty pleasure book is Divergent by Veronica Roth. My biggest thing about that book is like I used to go back every single like that's okay, that's an exaggeration, every like 6 months, and I would just reread it. Not only would I reread it, I would reread it in a day. Like I would sit down and I would be like, what am I doing today? Reading Divergent. The reason why it's a guilty pleasure is just because I don't think that the book is written that well. Not only that, but anybody who knows me in my personal life, like when I talk about books, Tris is one of my most hated main characters of all time. I stand by that. Maybe it's an unpopular opinion, but I can't stand her. From the very beginning of the first book all the way till the end of the last book, I just cannot stand her. Why would I force myself to do this? I don't know. There's just something about Divergent. I reread Divergent more than I reread The Hunger Games, even though I think Hunger Games is the better series. Like there's just something about Divergent. I don't know, maybe it's how big the font is and the fact that like when I read the book, I'm like, oh my gosh, because it's like this thick. I'm like, I am an academic weapon right now. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's 4. It's probably 4 in that Ferris wheel scene. Divergent is and always has been and always probably will be my #1 guilty pleasure book. Next on our list is a book that everybody loved, but I did not. I find that a lot of the book talk books or books that are super popular, I don't vibe with, and they're not really my genre. My #1 is going to be a Colleen Hoover, Miss Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover. I never want to read that book again. However, it's becoming increasingly popular of an idea to not be the biggest Colleen Hoover stan. It used to be my most unpopular opinion, you know, a book that everyone loved but I didn't, would be Ugly Love, but apparently it's becoming increasingly popular to not like that book. Also because everybody says like Ugly Love is her spiciest book, but one of her best books. I don't read spice, I don't love spice, it's not really my thing. I can't imagine. And now I'm gonna leave it at that because I'm not trying to tear into anybody. Another book that everybody loved and I didn't. Probably People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. I think I was just expecting too much. I think it was one of those like super popular things where the book is just so overhyped that I didn't really vibe. And I do say that because like I love Book Lovers by Emily Henry and I kind of like cut myself off from hearing anything about it and I absolutely adored it. So I don't really know. Man writes his entire point of view and poetry. He's in love with his stepsister. Man is literally cutting grass right now. Next, a book that I read the fastest. I want to say Daisy Jones and the Six just because it's written as like all dialogue and I really felt like I was absolutely flying through it. However, I feel like it actually took me like a week to finish that book, but it felt like I read that one the fastest, if that counts. The book I read the fastest most recently would be Caraval, because I read that in 2 days. Oh my gosh, and there's another one. Hold on. There's this book called Arsenic and Adobo by Mia Menansala, and I swear I read that book in one sitting. I thoroughly enjoyed that book. Really, I gave it 5 stars. So this girl named Lila, she moves back to her family like restaurant. Basically, the restaurant's kind of failing and there is this relentless food critic who will not stop writing bad reviews about this restaurant. One day, Lila and the food critic like get into this confrontation while he's in the restaurant, like reviewing the food, because he's just being a total snob about it. Obviously, this food critic likes this food, like he's eating the entire plate, and then he's leaving horrible reviews like over and over and over again. Right after a confrontation with Lila though, the food critic drops dead and it becomes like inside the restaurant, and it becomes this like murder mystery, except it's a cozy mystery, so it's not like a super intense. Lila's getting like low-key like framed a little bit. Like, she's kind of the only suspect that they have because like he was literally talking to her and then he drops dead, you know, so they're like, what did you do? So she starts conducting her own case to solve it. Like, it was gripping, it was short, it was fast-paced, and I was just zooming through it. Book from a genre that you don't typically read. I feel like that one has to go to Stephen King's Misery, because I don't really ever read any Stephen King, much less that genre, which is like a horror, like psychological thriller. Number 1 is Misery by Stephen King. However, another one I have for you is the Heroes of Olympus series by Rick Riordan. I love this book series and I swear I never finished Percy Jackson. I've never really been interested in mythology, like it's never really been my cup of tea. Although recently I've kind of found myself a lot more intrigued by it, but I think that I found myself a lot more intrigued by it just because I read this book series, The Heroes of Olympus. Rick Riordan is really like good at explaining mythology without making you feel stupid. Another one I would say is Jane Anonymous, which is a YA suspense thriller. This book tells the story of a girl who got kidnapped, and it's literally her like throughout like before, during, and after getting kidnapped, and it's like her story, and it's really good. Found this book to be something that I wouldn't normally gravitate towards, but I really liked it. There was this book I read called This Impossible Light. It's a young adult fiction, which I feel like I read a lot of, but this one is written in verse, so you literally zoom through it, and it's like this very introspective novel about a girl named Ivy who's 15 years old, whose body betrays her as it grows, takes up the space left behind by her shrinking mother, leaving father, and missing best friend. The next book is a book that deserves all of the hype that it gets. I know. A book that deserves all of the hype that it gets is Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren. That book, I've read Christina Lauren after Christina Lauren after Christina Lauren book, and every single one of them has fallen flat for me. I did not like it, really. This one, I don't know what they put in this one, but this one is really, really good. The relationship between, I think Macy is her name, and Elliot was extremely realistic. It's this like childhood friends to lovers / second chance romance. Macy and Elliot have been estranged, and the reason for them being estranged is actually like valid and like a good reason, and I feel like that is very make or break for a book, because lots of books try to like use that trope and they don't do it well, but I feel like in this book they do it well. It just explains everything so well. Sad and heartbreaking and gut-wrenching, but it's also so beautiful what happens and what comes out of everything, and it's just so human and so real. And the people that talk about this book, it deserves all of the hype that it gets. I genuinely mean that. Book you recommend when you're asked to give a recommendation. Y'all, I'm actually really bad at giving book recommendations. I'm just gonna give you a quick breeze through of books that I would recommend when asked to give a recommendation. I would recommend Right, good question. I recommend The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I recommend Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. The Selection Series by Kiera Cass. Girl in the Blue Coat. The Savage Song in This Dark Duet by Victoria Schwab, or maybe it's V.E. Schwab on that one, I'm not sure. I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. And Talking as Fast as I Can by Lauren Graham. Next question. A book that has your favorite characters. I take this question very seriously because I am a character first girly always. Number 1, Catching Fire by Suzanne Collins. Finnick Odair is in that book, and Finnick Odair is one of the best characters ever written. Also, Pete is in that book, and Pete is one of the best characters ever written. Next, we have Pride and Prejudice by Miss Jane Austen because Elizabeth Bennet, are you kidding? And Mr. Fitzwilliam Darcy, are you kidding? Jane Austen always writes like these super exaggerated, funny characters that like the characters are staples in the books. You know what I mean? I will also put Caraval on this list because Stephanie Garber's love interest, we have Jax, we have Legend, we have Julian, although take off Julian because he's not one of my favorites. But Jax, Legend, Tella, she's not a love interest, she's a main character. I don't know, just the characters that are in that book series are some of my favorite characters ever, period. Also, Aaron Warner, Shatter Me. Are you kidding? We Hunt the Flame. That has a whole group of characters, and those are some of the best characters I've ever read in my life. I'm a character-driven girly if there ever was one. Unlike all of the rest of these questions, I have thought about my answer for this one, and I know the correct answer for me in my life. A book that I wish I could live in, Harry Potter. It's just the fall vibes, the fall energy. I'm going to class in things that look like castles. I'm living in castles. There's fireplaces and I'm reading my spell books and I'm doing a little like bibbity bobbity boo. Like we are all so fall. I love it. I just think it is so cozy, and I think like aside from Voldemort, right? Like okay, removed from Voldemort, like it's so cozy there, and I feel like everybody is just like having fun and like learning their magic. And a book that I thought I was gonna hate, but I actually ended up loving. I guess I could say anything by Shakespeare. Last year, my fall semester, read Midsummer Night's Dream. I hated it. I was taking a Shakespeare class in the spring semester, and almost every single play I read in that course I really enjoyed. But I guess to technically answer this question, I would go for Much Ado About Nothing. Next one is a book that made me cry. Mockingjay from The Hunger Games made me bawl my eyes out. Love in Other Words also made me bawl my eyes out. Ugly Love also made me cry, even though I didn't love that book. It just like wasn't my vibe. A book that I vividly remember making me cry was Me Before You. The pages are literally like wavy from my tears, and there are mascara stains in that book from me crying. I cry at most books, to be honest. Next question is a book that I wish I could reread for the first time. Kind of wish I could reread Red Queen again for the first time because I really loved the first book, and then I remembered not liking any of the rest of the series. I remembered hating the main character, and I think like there was a period of my life where I really hated a lot of female teenage main characters, but I wish I could go back and like see it again with fresh eyes and have a more mature standpoint. I wish I could like reread that big reveal again for the first time, because that was my first ever huge plot twist that I never saw coming. I feel like I was too immature to read that series the first time I ever read it. This is the very last question. A book that I think is underrated. Book that I think is severely underrated, Girl in the Blue Coat by Monica Hess. It's about this girl who basically delivers these black market goods to customers. She rides around on her little bike, and she is mourning the death of her boyfriend. Oh my gosh, I should probably mention, hey girl, this is taking place in Amsterdam in 1943. So we are definitely talking like World War II. On a routine delivery, a client asks the main character to help her because she has lost the Jewish teenager that she's been hiding in her house. And initially our main character, she wants absolutely nothing to do with this because she's like, yo, like this is way too dangerous. But eventually she gets drawn in and she finds out all of these lies and horrors about Nazism and people who are part of a resistance. And it's a really good book. It's not just one of those things where somebody who had absolutely no idea what was going on like wrote a bunch about it. The author, Monica, spent a lot of time apparently researching this, forming this plot, and it's really good, and you should totally go read it. I just think it doesn't have a lot of hype because these aren't typically the stories I think that are being talked about a lot, because I feel like historical fiction, it's like YA mystery, historical fiction, I feel like that's not the main genre that most people are picking up on a daily basis. But if you have time, you should go read this book. Extremely underrated, but extremely deserving of the hype. Okay guys, so that was my book rec tag. Thank you guys really quickly for watching the video and bearing with me because I did not really prepare my answers for this. I kind of wanted it to be a little bit more organic. If you haven't already, go follow me on Instagram. It's at AshtonByBooks. And if you're from my Instagram, hey, hi, hello, it's me, but on YouTube. And if you haven't already, please like, comment, and subscribe down below. Thank you so much for supporting this video and supporting this channel. It means the world to me. I really appreciate your support and you tuning in every Wednesday at 2. And if I miss a Wednesday, or if I have any updates, or if I'm gonna be late, I will hit my Instagram to tell you why, so make sure that you are following me on there. That's everything I have to say, so thank you so much for watching this week's video, and I will see you guys when I see you. Mwah!